Heyo, my name is Chupacabra, and today we're going to be play-by-playing the 7th race of the NAFCAR season, The Crown. Play-by-play videos, we're going to go over the NAFCAR track facts along with the share codes, and then I'm going to actually talk you through the track, just giving you some tips, tricks, my thought process behind making it, and just some general fun information about NAFCAR and this track as a whole. If you'd like to see this track without my annoying voice in the background, go ahead and check out my preview video of The Crown. This is the same race, except I will not be talking in the background and you can see it for yourself. Each video I make uses a unique recording, so you might notice something in that race that you won't notice in this race. Alrighty, thank you everybody for the support. Let's jump right into the NAFCAR track facts. Alrighty, the name of this event is The Crown, and it is the 7th race of the NAFCAR season. There are 3 share codes associated with the event, and after these track facts we'll circle around and tackle these. The track style is circuit, which means there is a fixed start-finish line and laps are made around the circuit. The track motif is a dirt road hybrid. There are a few races on the NAFCAR schedule that are hybrid races. A pure hybrid race would consist of 50% one motif and 50% of another motif. So for this example, we'll say 50% road and 50% dirt. A hybrid motif could also favor one over the other. For example, an event that contains 75% paved road and 25% dirt would also be considered a hybrid, which favors paved road conditions. So let's talk about the Crown's motif. This track is about 2/3 dirt and 1/3 paved road. This changes how you should build your car, and we're going to talk about this more in depth when we start the actual video. The starting location is the Baja cross-country circuit. The track length is 3 miles, and the total scheduled racing distance will be 18 miles, or 6 laps. Tire wear is rated a 3 out of 5, which means you should expect to use anywhere between 50 and 70% of your racing tires. Damage wear is rated a 2 out of 5, which means you might accrue some slight damage throughout the course of the event, and a lot of this is basically because of different hills and little jumps. AI bots are rated a 4 out of 5, which means they handle this track pretty well. There's 2 checkpoints where it's very hit and miss, but a lot of that's just dependent upon the type of car the bot has. Obviously, if he's got a hypercar and he's racing on dirt, probably not going to have a good time. This track should take you about 12 minutes to complete 6 laps, and with all these things in consideration, we give this a difficulty rating, and it comes in at a 2 out of 5, which means it should be easy to inexperienced Forza Horizon 5 players. Really, the big issue with this track is the type of car you are racing. We use Sports Utility Heroes as the official NAFCAR sanctioned event, and Sport Utility Heroes tend to be a little wider and make wider turns compared to most vehicles. And when you combine this with a narrow racing surface, it kind of gets a little difficult. But if you take your time, you won't have an issue. This track really isn't difficult fundamental-wise. It's just a little difficult to pass here and there, and it can be challenging a little bit, trying to get around somebody. Alrighty, let's jump right into the share codes. For this track, it doesn't matter whether you have damage on or off, what matters is the type of vehicle you are driving. If you're using an S1 Sport Utility Heroes, go ahead and use that share code in brackets. This is the official race of the NAFCAR season, and this is what we'll be play-by-playing today. If you use any other car class or car type, go ahead and use the other 2 share codes. The share codes and stars is the full 6-lap event, where the share codes and pound sign is just a 2-lap sampler. Alrighty everybody, let's jump right into the play-by-play. Alrighty, the Crown is a 3-mile event hybrid favoring dirt over paved road. The best car build will be able to handle the dirt and paved road section evenly. The dirt sections are full of elevation changes and tight turns, whereas the paved section is all about straight line speed and being able to manage that speed through a couple S-turns. Section 1 of this track is this front stretch paved area. This is the fastest part of the Crown. A 90-degree right-hander will begin the dirt portion of the track, and this is considered Section 2. Section 2 is a little more technical. Not only is Section 2 technical, the checkpoints are relatively narrow compared to most checkpoints on most racetracks. And if you notice, we're using a Sport Utility Hero, and these cars are naturally a little wider and a little tougher to turn. When you combine that with the narrow checkpoints, it makes passing very difficult on this track. The whole idea is Section 2 and Section 3 is basically about survival, and Section 1 is where you're going to make a lot of your passes. As we come up this big hill, we will be transitioning from Section 2 to Section 3. Alright, we'll try to come around this right-hander. Section 3 is a little faster than Section 2. It's less technical, and it's more open to straight line speed and fast turning, rather than the narrow checkpoints and just kind of turns all throughout the section. Section 2, you average about, let's say, 90 miles per hour. Section 3, we're going to build up that speed to about 130. Section 3 includes this right-hander, and from here it's basically going to be a gradual downhill and going as fast as you can before the final right-hander onto Section 1 in that paved road. Alrighty, here we are, back to Section 1, and from here it's just going as fast as you can. Sport Utility Heroes, as I said, they're a little harder to turn the center of the turn. So it's good to tap your brake to make sure you don't run into this wall. Section 1, as you can see, has this narrow Baja horizon wall, and if you touch that, it's really going to mess up your car a little bit. Coming towards the end of the Section 1, usually you're going about 150 miles per hour. And you slow down to about 30 to make this right-hander to begin Section 2 again. Let's take a look at my tires here. My tires average about 155 degrees throughout the entire duration of this track. This track has a very consistent tire wear. Most tracks on the schedule, once you put tire heat in your tires, it's really hard to cool them back down and get them back into a normal range. But the Crown, you don't have to worry about that. Tire wear is rated a 3 out of 5, which means that you should expect to use anywhere between 50 and 70% of your tires before the end of the race. The type of vehicle has a lot to do with this. If you're racing like a rally monster, you'll notice your tire wear won't be as bad as these Sport Utility Heroes. And that's at least from my experience testing these. When I build these tracks, I do a lot of testing with a lot of different types of cars. I know a lot of people don't even mess with the Sport Utility Heroes, like sure they'll use one if it's part of a quest or something, but for the most part a lot of people shy away from these. And I noticed that building some of these test blueprints for different tracks. Out of all the official NAFCAR sanctioned events that I've made, this was the one that's actually ran the least. NAFCAR is meant to show your Forza Horizon 5 skill as both a racer and a car builder. So that means being able to build and race cars that are outside of your normal comfort zone. Alrighty, so we're at the start-finish line here. Let's take a lap around the track. So this is pretty high speed. We're going to get up to about 165 coming through here, tapping the brake coming around that turn. Like I said, these Sport Utility Heroes, they don't have a lot of turn in them. Then we're going to hard brake and take a hard right-hand turn, and then we're going to start Section 2 here, which is this dirt road. Section 2 is known for its elevation changes, so we kind of go uphill, and then we're going to go downhill into this valley. And now we're going to try to build speed up this hill once again. A little jump there. You can take a little bit of damage coming off that jump depending on how you hit it. So just be a little cautious. That's the reason why it is rated a 2 out of 5. You know, you can expect to accrue some light damage just from naturally racing the event. As we get to the end of Section 2 here, you notice the checkpoints widen up a little bit. So this is a decent opportunity to pass anybody. Alright, as we come to this other right-hander to start Section 3 here, kind of just building up some speed, about 100 miles per hour. Now this is about as fast as you can go. A lot of this will be straight line, just go as fast as you can. Down this hill, about 130, had to hit the brake to make that turn. Once again, these cars don't really turn well, so you have to use a little more brake than you would, say, a modern rally car. Another hard right-hand turn. And once again, we're going to go downhill here, and this is basically you just want to get to the bottom of this hill as fast as you can. Hit the brake, slow down, come to the gate, and we'll begin Section 1. This part here, you're just trying to get some speed. Now, there's a little bend here. A lot of cars will take that bend no problem, but these Sport Utility Heroes, it's good to slow down a little bit. There's a few times I come off that turn and I end up hitting the wall. When coming off that turn, especially if you don't have damage on, you can actually get a lot of speed by fishtailing your back end and kind of bouncing off that wall and making yourself straight. The problem is though, if you do have simulation damage on, like as if you're racing in the NAFCAR league, if you do that, you can actually tear up your back end and you can do some suspension damage on that same side along with some brake damage. I'd like to take some time and talk about the thought process behind putting together this track and where it fits on the NAFCAR schedule. So when I first made this track, it reminded me a lot of a track that I had made in Forza Horizon 4. It was called the Trixie Triangle. And the Trixie Triangle had 3 sections, one for each side. And the whole idea behind the track was each side got progressively easier and easier and easier. So the first side was very difficult, the second side of the triangle wasn't as difficult, and then the third side of the triangle was super easy. It was basically a probably about 2-mile straight line. The whole concept of that track was really cool, and you could really build your car to handle each side differently. Well, I tried to take that aspect and put it into Forza Horizon 5, with a similar track that had multiple sides, and it either got progressively easier or progressively difficult as you ran through each side or section. So I spent a lot of time doing testing and building tracks to mimic this same concept, and ultimately I felt like the Crown was the best example of this. Originally, this track was going to be run with classic rally cars, and then as I finished building this track and started to explore this area some more, I actually found a track that better encompassed that whole aspect of the type of track that I wanted to build. That racetrack is now the 27th race of the NAFCAR season, so we're not even close to debuting that. And what happened was it made me change how I approached this track, because in the NAFCAR league, there's not a lot of repetition. There's a lot of different car classes and a lot of different car types to master, and I tried to pair each unique car with each unique track to give a totally unique experience unlike anything seen before or after within the schedule. Something else to keep in mind there is way more cars that handle road racing than dirt racing. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at all the car classes that are meant to be done on paved road. You have hypercars, you have classic racers, you have track toys. There's roughly 24 paved road car classes, whereas there's only 12 dirt road classes. In terms of the NAFCAR schedule, there's around 20 paved road classes, and then there's around 20 other tracks that contain dirt road elements. With only 12 dirt classes, in theory we should see some repetition of car classes. Now, there are a few dirt classes that are really good, like all the rally car classes. Those are all awesome cars to drive on dirt, cross-country terrain. Then you have some car classes like the UTVs that only contain 1 or 2 specific kinds of cars, and that's it. So you have a few dirt classes that are very limited, and you have a few dirt classes that are pretty expansive. Car type that I feel fits right in the middle of your 4 top ones and your 4 bottom classes are the sport utility heroes here. An S1 Rally Monster will handle this track a lot better than a sport utility heroes would. But those rally classes are already paired up with tracks that handle the rally aspects better than non-rally aspects. And the same goes for things like the UTVs. Those are already paired with racetracks that suit UTVs specifically. Finally, that leaves us the sport utility heroes needing a home, and the fact that this track is split up into thirds, each side getting progressively easier and easier, it's perfect for sliding the sport utility vehicles in. And then when you take into consideration how narrow some of these checkpoints are and how hard this track is to pass just naturally, it really makes this race super fun with a car class that is less fun than just about any other dirt class you can play. play. Excited to get to this racetrack because I can actually talk about like pairing different car classes with different tracks, and a lot of what goes into pairing different cars with different tracks and making it so that there's 40 races that race completely different from one another. Alright, we're going to come around this final turn here, and we're going to go across the finish line. I'm really trying to nail the format of these play-by-plays. I have an idea of what I want to do, and I'm just kind of learning how to do it. I know this track, I spent less time play-by-playing and more giving my thoughts, and that's just kind of, I want to experiment with how I do each one of these segments. This is technically my 7th play-by-play, and I have 33 more of these to do. So I'm hoping to learn and grow, and by the time I get towards the end, I should have a very specific format for how I want to do these play-by-plays. Thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I really appreciate the time and the views. My next couple videos will be more play-by-play, and then after I get the last 2 play-by-play videos done, we're going to be releasing tracks 10 through 15, and I am super excited about those tracks. Those tracks are very special to me, and I can't wait to show the world. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. You have a great evening, night, morning, day.